The world of social media has a wide array of uniqueness, but lacks one crucial thing: originality. Blurring the lines may seem creative sometimes, but really makes things worse. And killing habits, such as drinking energy drinks daily, for example, isn't necessarily easy, but also it's very worth it. I'll share my thoughts on this, that, and the other thing, and so much more. I'm Michael O, and this is The Mo Show. Hello and good morning. Welcome back to the studio. Today we are not going to spend too much time on introduction, dilly-dallying of any sort. Except for one thing, I will say this is second edition of the Mo Show. What do I mean by that? Well, I pride myself on not being edited. Michael O unedited in this case. The Mo Show is from the record button till the end. No cuts, no fancy edits, nothing like that. It's just me, Pandy, you, and me running my mouth for however long. Wonderful, right? Well, my recording software decided to have an update, and as far as I can tell, this is what caused it, because I haven't messed with any of the settings at all for I don't know how long. And long story short, my last recording of this episode, I'm literally using the same notes here as the last time I recorded, but the last time I tried to record this, the audio file got so bad to where, like, not even using edits, using post-production, none of that, I couldn't tone down how bad the audio was. It just wasn't usable. So after making a couple adjustments and double checking all the settings and everything, and I decided that I might as well not waste these notes or these ideas and go ahead and try it again. If at first you don't succeed, try again. But this will indeed be unedited, as you are accustomed to. Thank you for joining me today. Let's get right into things, starting with the world of social media. Dun dun dun. There's a lot of social medias out there, and to be quite frank, I don't feel the need to have any more. I only have a few. I only have YouTube, obviously, because this show is on YouTube. Those of you watching, hello. Good to see you today. Those of you listening, no offense, you just don't get to see this beautiful face. And that's probably by choice, and I do not blame you one bit. That's okay. YouTube, I have. Facebook, I also have, because I am a very elderly man, and I use Facebook. And then Instagram, I also have. And that's pretty much it. I don't have TikTok. I don't have Snap. I don't have Twitter, X, whatever. I don't have Threads. It's another story for another day there. I don't have... I'm trying to think of what else that there is. I don't have any of it. And I don't feel the need to get any more of it. And for those of you who don't really have social media, maybe you're listening to this on like Spotify or something, and you don't have any of even the social medias I have, more power to you. You're probably just eliminating stress from your life. Obviously, I am a creator. I have accounts on all three of those platforms, and I do make content for the main channel, for my main bit, and then also for the Mo Show as well. And, you know, there's a lot of things that I could say about social media. A lot has changed recently in the last couple of years. And the one thing that I've noticed, coffee break, I, along with everybody else, have noticed the takeover of short-form content. Short-form content in, well, really, there's a way to do it on any of the platforms now. You think about it, there's TikTok was kind of the pioneer, I suppose you could say. And then we have Instagram Reels, which is more my generation. It's what we use. A lot of friends, a lot of kids my age have it, and that's how we primarily go back and forth. I'll have to call them back. That's how we go back and forth with our communication. But, sorry, I got a little distracted there. And Facebook even has Reels as well. Not as many uses of that. Also YouTube Shorts. These are different platforms with different audiences. If you know, you know. But the thing I've noticed a lot with this rise of short form content is just the pure, I hate to use the term recycling center, but it's almost what it's come down to. All of you know what I'm talking about. You're scrolling through your reels, you're scrolling through your feed, you're scrolling through your For You page, your TikToks, your shorts, whatever. And whatever time, whatever the case is, there's a trend. And the reason it's called a trend, I understand this, is because it gained traction, it gained views, it got attention, and everybody's doing it. Okay, that's one thing. It's a popular idea. Everybody wants to do it. That's why it's a trend. I understand. 100% understand how that works. It gets really old really quick though nowadays. Let me put it this way. Whenever short form content, rewind a couple years, we're going to have to go pre-COVID on this one. For video platforms, the big one was always YouTube, and still is for this use case for long form videos. I know a lot of these other platforms have introduced longer videos instead of just purely reels and short videos. They've allowed for longer videos, but YouTube has been doing it for forever now. I should say for as long as any such thing existed on the internet, let's put it that way. And it seems that with the older style per se, the long form content on YouTube, if there was a trend, if there was something that was there that people wanted to recreate, they did so in their own way. They would take the idea, figure out how they could make it creative, figure out what twist they could put on it for their audience, and even, design their own thumbnails and whatnot, and try and see how it went, and try to make it entertaining at least. The problem with the short form content is, and I suppose this also kind of has to do with the fact that it's time limited. You only have a number of seconds to get it done, but it almost feels lazy. It feels like everybody just does the same thing over and over and over in the exact same format. The only difference is different people doing it and different setting, different place. Sometimes people go to the same place to do it. It's whatever. I'd see it as being lazy. And don't even get me started on the audio. Everybody just reuses the same audio and lip syncs to it, and just it's so unoriginal. And that's where I'm coming to here is, do you create your own original content anymore? Like, I'm not saying that anybody who does the trends doesn't have an idea for themselves, but at some point, like I said, I fully understand these trends, that it's a trend because everybody's doing it. But really, the exact same thing? Like, you're just putting your video with the exact same sound as the same thing as other people are doing? like, I'm not saying don't ever do a trend. I've done trends before, and quite frankly, they haven't worked out. And be completely honest with you, and I'm talking about in short form videos and shorts and reels. Be honest with you, I didn't really enjoy making them as much. Maybe that's just me, but I didn't really enjoy making them as much. I thought it was a funny idea, or I thought it was creative or unique. It was something I thought maybe could get attention, and sometimes it did get some attention, but at the same time, can I really say it's mine? I'm not saying you're plagiarizing necessarily in doing that, but at the same time, do you make your own original content too? For me, the answer is yes. Whenever I do make my content that is my own, whether people like it or not, everything has a different, and I've had things blow up as well, but is that your own content, or is that just something that, oh, I just saw it, so might as well do it? It seems to be getting views. Is that the only reason you're doing it? I would rather do a trend where it fits in with my style. I'm not saying I always have. There's been hits and misses with me in that department. Now I'm considering completely backing off from trends and only doing original stuff, because that's me. That's what I do. I don't want to become a part of the huge recycling center and just keep, because okay, after one or two, and some people do these trends very well too. I will say they maybe make it fit their page, their channel, and they do it well, and they get lots of views for it, and more power to them. I'm not saying that's wrong or bad or anything, but at the same time, it gets old when you see the same thing over and over. You're scrolling through your feed, my lovely doom scrolling that I love to get sucked into. And it's just the same thing over and over and over multiple times in a row. It's like, this is getting old. Same audio, same everything. It's no longer new, funny, or entertaining after a couple of them. It's just like, okay, can we move on now? I've seen compilations, for goodness sakes, that are less repetitive than that. And I don't want to be too judgmental of creators themselves, because I understand it's widespread across the internet through different accounts and different pages and such and so forth that do these. So I wouldn't want to single out anybody in particular, nor would I want to say that this is a reflection on the people that make these as a reflection of who they are, because they might just be jumping on the bandwagon to go along to get some views. And also understand that knowing somebody on social media or following somebody, subscribing, whatever the platform may be, is not the same as knowing somebody in real life. I've made this point before. I'm not going to belabor it too much, but whenever somebody has a social media page, they can control what part of you they see. Now, they could do that in real life, but only to a certain extent. I'd say at some point, if you're with a person, the true them is going to come out at some point, no matter what kind of a facade or for how long they do that. Excuse me. At some point, the real them is going to shine forth. On social media, all you got to do is turn the camera off when that starts to happen. And even so, unless you're doing a live stream, then you can just cut out whatever parts you don't want and apply whatever filters you want. Like I said at the beginning, leading into this, I am Mike Lowe. This is the Mo Show. This is me unedited. This is all of me without any cuts, without anything. You'd be able to see it if there was cuts. I don't make any bones about that. And you get to see me just go on whether you want to or not for minute upon minute. We're not going to try and take up too much of your time here, but I'm not trying to filter or edit anything here outside of maybe a little bit of audio adjustment to make this sound a little bit different. But I mean, that's just an enhancement. That's not really an edit per se and what we think of editing. This is me. I'm not going to sing the song for you, but this is me. I like I said, I've tried before. I've tried to do the trends. I've tried to do it myself, and it's not. I don't like doing it. It feels fake. I'm not trying to judge anybody, nor am I saying that I'm never going to do a single trend ever again for as long as I live. I will most likely do something, but I want it to fit with what I do and to kind of put some sort of my own spin on it rather than just using the same audio and lip syncing over it again. It's so inauthentic. People want original content from you. If you're an influencer or some sort of creator and you're watching this, people want the originality from you. That's what they want. They don't want, and like I said before, it's not evil or anything to get on a trend, but it's trends and reposting somebody else's or using the same audio and just not adding any creativity to it. Is that what people really want from you? I mean, I guess the answer could be yes, but have you tried being yourself? Maybe. I don't know. I have an unedited show that nobody watches. Just kidding. No offense to my listeners, viewers, audience. None of you. No offense. But this is a relatively small show, comparatively speaking, and I have no problem with it. You have to make up your mind for yourself, but do you create anything of your own? Or are you just a big old recycling center? Hate to say it, but somebody's got to tell you, right? Somebody has to unblur those lines. Speaking of unblurring lines, let's talk about blurring lines now. How do you like that transition? So, next rant, right? There's products that blur the lines. That's what we're going to call them. For the sake of this episode, we're going to call them products that blur the lines. What am I talking about? So, I work in IT. I am a technician. And it might sound kind of fancy. It's really not. What I do is I help people solve their problems. If I need to go into the networking room, I will. But I do a lot with computers. And at some companies that I have serviced before, because I do work at multiple different companies, I do the IT troubleshooting work, whatever term you want to put there, for multiple different companies. And at some of those, they have what are known as Microsoft Surfaces. If you don't know what that is, look it up. They do make regular laptops, but the most commonly known form factor of the Microsoft Surface Pro, whatever, is the 2-in-1 laptop / tablet. Okay? So hold that thought. Keep that in mind. Okay? Now, another product that blurs the lines. All-in-ones. What is an all-in-one? So, if you're like me and you use your computer to play games and it's at home, at your desk, and you're not worried about space or anything, you're not too concerned about space, having enough space being an issue. Traditionally, you will get a PC, computer tower, and then a screen, a separate monitor. That's what, for I don't know how long, that's the way it's been. That's how it's been for a long time. Recently, they've introduced all-in-ones, a more compact solution. A lot of Windows manufacturers, a lot of people that A lot of companies that produce Windows PCs will make these. HP, Dell, iMacs. If you have an iMac, that's considered an all-in-one. Basically, all of the computer components are behind the screen, all in one big unit. Looks like a thick monitor, basically, and it's heavier, but that's all you need. If you need to travel and you need to take your whole computer with you, your whole desktop computer with you, a lot of times people will choose this because they can just pick up their screen and the power cord and go. As long as they got a mouse and keyboard that they throw in their bag, they're good. So that's another product that blurs the lines. Folding phones. And nowadays these are coming in two different, well, I say two different form factors, but there's recently another one. So there's what I call the flip phones because it's in the name. Notably the Motorola Razr, and I'm not referring to the old school flip phones. I know about those, but and as as much of a tank as those things are, now they're making the touchscreen ones. The Motorola Razr one, and more commonly the Samsung Z Flip, which basically it's a normal bar phone like this, and then it folds down into a more compact size so you can put it in your pocket easier. Okay, cool. And then you have the book style folding phones. So, and I know for those of you watching, it's kind of hard you can't see what I'm doing, but I'll describe it to you too, where it's basically a phone when it's folded up, like a bar phone form factor, just perhaps a little thicker. And then when it opens up, it's like a small tablet, basically. Notably, and there's a lot of these now, but notably the Samsung Z Fold series. And then also, a lot of them have started doing this actually. Excuse me. I know the Pixel has one. I think it's the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, I believe. And then there's also the OnePlus Open, I believe it's called. And as much of a phone nerd as I am, there's just so many to keep up with. I want to say Honor has one as well. I'm trying to remember. There's a bunch of companies that have them, but the most known one I'd say is the Samsung one. And Samsung was the first one to really do anything with folding phones. They really started that up. Okay, that's another product that blurs the lines. And then I'll even throw this one in there just as a personal I almost want to say pet peeve. It kind of annoys me. Laptops just in general, touchscreens, and that's probably going to be the most controversial one on this list. You can kind of consider the Surface to be along that line because it's technically running full on Windows with a touchscreen, but it's a different form factor. In this last one I'm referring to is just talking about a normal, like an otherwise normal laptop with a touchscreen on it. That's a little bit more of a stretch. I understand it's more controversial, but it's a personal preference of mine. So, what do I mean by products that blur the lines? And I'm sure you've already picked up on the trend I'm setting here already. You're creating in-between products, and it's cool because you get more functionality, I suppose. At least I think so, to be honest with you. Let's go through. Let me go through these briefly. So, for example, if you have a Surface Pro, you can have a laptop that runs, like I said, full on Windows with a PC feel interface to it. And a lot of times they'll have USB ports as well and docking stations that make them pretty much a fully usable computer. A lot of companies will use them as work devices because whenever somebody needs to work on the go or work from home, it's a laptop. If they go into their office and they have a desk with monitors, they can get a docking station that magnetically clips to it, and then they can shut their laptop screen and close that, and then it'll just project to their big screens, to their monitors. And using the dock, they get more USB ports, and they can have mouse and keyboard and everything connected. Okay, that's useful. So the in between there would be laptop and tablet. Cool. You get functionality of both. All-in-ones. What's that in between? A computer tower and a monitor. Combine them, you get the convenience of having both, whereas you only need to have one physical device that you carry. Cool. Folding phones. So the flipping phones, maybe not so much. You get a more compact phone, I'd say, but a lot of these folding phones, the ones that fold out into a book style, like I was describing earlier, those ones can be a phone and a tablet. Pretty cool. You can just throw that in your pocket, right? And just, if you need to have a phone, you can have a phone. If you're somewhere where you'd like a bigger screen, you can have a tablet screen. Cool. Laptops with touchscreens. Not as much of an in-between product, but it kind of resembles a tablet, but it just gives you more functionality, I'd say. Here's the thing, though. Whenever you create an in-between product, whenever you try to blur the lines, a lot of times you're going to have to compromise. Sure, it can be two things. Sure, the Surface can be a tablet and a laptop, but it's not going to be fully one or the other. You're going to have to compromise some things there. Whenever you have it in laptop mode, I guess. I don't know what the word I'm looking for there is. When you have the keyboard attached, in the case of the Surface Pro. Surface Pros have a detachable keyboard from the screen, and what you can do is just take it off if you don't need it. It just magnetically detaches from it. The problem is when it's in laptop mode with the keyboard attached, it's not really a tablet anymore. If anything, it's a bulky tablet with extra, accessories. And then whenever you try to repair something on it, those things are pain. Those things are a pain to repair, because any PC device that you have to take the screen off in order to repair is going to be a headache. Let's put it that way. Any sort of computer that you have to remove the display, because I don't know if any of you out there have ever tried to attempt your own repairs, but the displays are super delicate and really fragile. You got to be careful if you don't want to have to replace your screen too. Like for example, if your battery's going bad, because batteries are not forever. They do not last an eternity. If your battery goes bad, but your screen's fine, if you go to replace it, you have to take the screen off. And if you're being careful, sometimes it can happen. If you break the screen on accident, then guess what? You got to replace the screen too, unless you want to deal with a broken screen too. For all-in-ones, the convenience, of course, is that it's all in one unit, both monitor and computer. The problem is those things are also a pain to repair. Repairability. I understand for people that would never dare open up their device. Okay, that's fine. Know your limits. But for somebody who works on them, even before I've worked in IT, I still repaired phones and devices myself. Those are a pain to try and fix. There's more specific models that are hard to fix, because once again you have to take the screen off. Some of them you can just pop the back plastic off, but oh my goodness, there's certain products that just hate you, and I would go ahead and say that all-in-ones are one of them. That, and the fact that obviously you're limited as another compromise in that repairability isn't really the only one. You can only have so much performance coming out of that machine just because of how compact and everything is, and all of that, all those processes are are going to create heat, and then there's only a limited space that the heat has to go out, whereas on my gaming PC, I can fit 3 full-size fans in there, no problem, blowing air in, circulating air in and out of the case. So it's never an issue with that. Folding phones, again, maybe a personal pet peeve of mine, but I cannot stand the crease. That's why I have a bar phone. Even if, and I'm an iPhone guy. I've considered trying out Samsung phones. I've considered trying out different options. I've considered trying out Android phones, but I could not do a folding phone. I would have to get maybe like the nice Samsung, like the S25 Ultra. I'd have to get something like that because I cannot stand that crease. As cool as it would be, believe me, to have a phone and an iPad that can just slip into your pocket, it'd be so cool to have. But at the same time, do I really have a problem with my phone and my iPad being 2 separate devices? No. And the drawback, again, for me would be, and I think I have it right here for those of you watching, this is my iPad. This is the behemoth. This is the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Basically a 13-inch tablet. The tablet that the folding phones fold out to is only about, I'd say, between 8 to 10 inches, maybe the 10-inch tablets being on the larger side of the folding phones, like the newest ones. And they're super expensive for that, for what you get. All things considered, it's going to be a smaller tablet for me, whereas I don't have a problem having a bigger tablet, bigger iPad, and just having it separate from my phone. I don't have to have them with me all the time. That's fine with me. And the price on them, and I got to deal with the crease. No, that crease is just going to get worse. It would get on my nerves. I don't know. It's just something in me that just does not like the crease. And I have used the folding phones before, like at Best Buy. Gone and tried them, and I was just like, oh, maybe it's not so bad. And then I used them for a few minutes. I'm like, this is nice, but I just could not get over that crease. Maybe that's just me. Maybe you can, and that's fine. Go buy one, but that's still a compromise in my mind. And then the most controversial one here, laptops with touchscreens. As much as I am a Windows user, I've been dabbling into Linux a little bit out of necessity here recently, and who knows? Maybe I'll get the hang of it and mess around with it some more, and maybe I'll come to like Linux. But the one thing, as much as I can't stand macOS, I know it's Linux based. I know that. It's not the same though. It's not exactly the same. I've had to use Macs a couple times, but for some perspective in the world of IT, the majority of your machines are going to be Windows machines. End user devices, computers, laptops, servers, the majority of them are going to be Windows. That's just how it goes. Windows isn't perfect, but I mean, I use it personally on my personal computer as well. So that's really what you need to know in this situation. But the one thing I will give to Macs, to MacBooks, the laptops, that's what we're talking about here is the laptops. None of them have touchscreens. Hot take, I think every laptop should be like that. I think every laptop should be a non-touchscreen device. That, like I said, I know that's controversial, but Windows, if I were to have one, it would be Windows. Windows is not a touch interface. This goes back to the Surfaces too, because those have touchscreens. Windows is terrible on devices that have touch support. I won't say terrible. They're not as good, because that OS is meant to use a mouse and keyboard. Let's flip it the other way around. Mobile operating systems are not meant to be used with a mouse and keyboard. Chromebooks use Google's Chrome OS software, which is basically anything that Android pushes out software-wise is going to be a variant of Android. That's the benefit of Android is it's flexible as an OS. Android is flexible. Okay, cool. The problem though is whenever you try to take it was first a touchscreen OS, and then you just try to make it work with a mouse and keyboard. I've used a couple Chromebooks and yeah, not impressed. Windows and Mac OS, I might have to give the benefit the upper hand there to Mac OS, just because I mean Mac OS is made with mouse and keyboard in mind as a computer software. And understand Chrome OS isn't exactly the same as Android, but understand what I'm saying. At its base root, it's gonna be Android essentially. All that to say, whenever you try and blur the lines, you can make a unique product, you can get creative, and people will probably buy it too. There's people that will use it. I'm not saying that these products shouldn't exist on the market. What I am saying is, don't think that there's no downsides to any of this. Whenever you stand between two products, whenever you try to create something that, excuse me, whenever you try to create something to take the place of two different products, they're not going to be 100% of either product. There's going to be compromises, and you need to decide if that's worth the money you're spending, because on some of these, they're more expensive than if you just bought one or the other. And like I said, their usefulness might be, it might fit the criteria that you need to fill. But the functionality of either one of those is more than likely going to decrease. I would rather have two different products that do what they do well, rather than have to compromise like that and deal with the downsides. That's just me personally, and some people that just doesn't work for them. But that's the way I view things. That's the way I've always viewed things, I'll say. Very little on these thoughts have changed, but that's my rant. That's my opinion. Shall I get off my soapbox now? It's the benefit of this being my show. I can go on my soapbox for as long as I want. But I'm afraid it's time to move on, though. Because we have to talk about old habits. Old habits die hard, they say, right? Ain't that what they all say? So, as you can see, I have a cup of coffee in the morning. As established earlier, because I use Facebook, I am an old man. I need my bean juice in the morning to get me going. The thing is, I only drink one cup of coffee in the morning, even if I'm more tired on a specific day. I'll say just one cup. Don't need more than that. Why do I say that? Because I do not want to get hooked on more than one cup of coffee a day and then not be able to go back to only one, and then it spiraling. Ultimately, I'm afraid that it's going to spiral out of control, and it's going to turn into 3 cups, and then 4 cups, and then 5. We've seen people like this before. I'm not going to say it couldn't happen to me. We're going to just nip it in the bud and say 1 cup a day. That's my prerogative. That's what I say. I'm playing it safe with that because I used to drink energy drinks. Almost, probably, yes, at some point on the daily. This was when I was working at the restaurant. Before I went into IT, I worked at a sandwich shop where we made Philly cheesesteaks. And I worked some very long shifts. Most weeks I had at least 2 or 3 12-hour shifts. So, and that entailed 9 a.m. through, okay, maybe more like 11 and a half, but 8 or 8:30 at night is when we'd normally get out of there. So the thing is, that's fine. Every job's different, but in order to get me through the day, I would go ahead and have an energy drink, but I wouldn't really feel the need to drink it until the afternoon. Now you see where I'm going here. So I would drink it normally on most days 3 p.m. or later. Some days a little bit earlier, but I'd normally wait until the afternoon because the coffee would keep me going for a little bit. And then in the afternoon, my energy would start to go down and it would wear off and I would need an extra kick to get me through the day. And it worked, granted. It did do its job. And I have always been the type of person, I feel pity for you if you have trouble sleeping, going to sleep at night. If I've been at work all day, or just a normal work day, when I hit that pillow, chances are I'm out. That's me. That's how I've always been. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I'm done. See you in the morning. That's how I am. And even with the that's how tired I was at the end of the day. Even after drinking the energy drink in the afternoon, I could still do that at that job. Then I switched to this other job where it's not near as, for one, it doesn't go near as long into the night. Normally get done at 5. And it's not near as fast pace of an occupation either. I'm not running around a restaurant all day. Well, I may have switched jobs, but for a while I kept that habit going just because I've been doing it so much. I kept buying energy drinks. And when I say energy drinks, I'm not just talking like the Monsters or anything or the Red Bulls those have lesser caffeine. I know it's crazy to think of that, but I'm talking like the Reign, the Bang, what's the other one? I think I had another one. Either way, each one of those had 300 milligrams of caffeine. For those of you who don't know, the daily official limit is 400. And when you add a cup of coffee to that 300, that gets you to right around 400, because this is about 100, I'd say. Your mileage may vary. And from personal experience, I know that going over that 400 milligram limit begins to create the opposite effect. Instead of getting more and more hyper after 400, it starts to work against me in that I have a faster heartbeat, but I just progressively get more tired as I drink more caffeine. So that wasn't a good idea. But even staying within that 400, like hanging on to that 400 limit barely, with the new career change, it just wiped out my sleep schedule. Like I could not fall asleep at night. But like I said, old habits die hard. But essentially, I just had to do it. I just had to say, look, these energy drinks I'm paying for like multiple energy drinks a week. And it's knocking out my sleep schedule when I need to sleep. It's not necessary. It's not being effective anymore. I don't really need them as much anymore because it's less intensive labor. Pardon me once again. And yeah, basically I had to begin the process of just cutting them out. It's not hard to quit old habits, but long story short, I did, and I'll say I'm better for it. I say all that to say this. Look, I'm not a motivational speaker. There's the words. I don't do TED Talks. That's not my style. But let me offer you a word of encouragement if you are trying to overcome something, kill an old habit, turn over a new leaf, whatever the case may be. You can do it. I'm not saying that just to make you feel good. I'm saying that because I've been able to do that before. I've been able to do that with the example I just gave you in the energy drinks and quitting the energy drinks, I should say. I've been able to do that with weight loss goals as well, in dieting, which is another story for another day. I'll tease you on that. How about that? We'll leave you hanging in suspense there, but I've been able to do it. And I got to say, if there's any advice I can give you on trying to do something like that, it's not going to be easy. In order for this to apply to you, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a struggle. Once again, I speak from experience on this. The word of advice I can give you, and I will give you, is that you need to take it day at a time. Everybody gets their heart set on these goals. They get set on these achievements and where they want to end up, the end result. They say, I want to completely cut out all energy drinks. I want to be 40 pounds lighter. I want to have read this many books by the end of the year. I want to better myself in this way or that way, whatever the case is. Well, you need to take it day by day, because you're going to get frustrated. You are going to get so worked up if you get and I'm not saying don't shoot for a goal, but you got to make a plan too. You say, I'm not good at making plans. That's okay. I got one for you. Take it one day at a time. Just say, what's the next step? Can I do this today? Because what we do a lot of times is we get so worked up and it seems impossible to achieve a goal, because we're so worried about us being perfect. And maybe that's more so me. We have a mindset of, if I fail, if I mess up this one day, well, let's just throw everything out the window. Don't do that. First of all, if you do mess up, come back tomorrow. Wake up tomorrow and say, I messed up yesterday. We're going to get back on track, though. Be able to recover from a mistake. And if you're struggling throughout a day and you're like, I don't know if I can keep this up. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to that goal. Just don't worry about the goal at that point. Worry about the rest of your day to day. Because you're going to feel the most challenged in that when you're tired, when you're hungry, if you're in pain, if you have a migraine going on that day. These are the big three for me, I'll say. You're going to feel it the most that day. And maybe all you need is a good night's sleep. And when you're in your mind, when you're working through, like, oh, I'll never get to this goal, I'll never do this, what's the point? Well, whenever you're trying to just keep on track, then the goal needs to shift from that goal to just getting through the day to day. And if you do that every day, if you just chip away, if you just work away at that goal every day, what's the next step? What do I need to do? Maybe the next step is another, I don't know, I'm trying to think of examples here. Maybe the next step is just to get through another day. Maybe it's just, I want to go to the gym for this many days. I want to go to the gym every day this year. Okay. Work through today. Get to the next day. Get to the next day. Get to the next day. Because if you get so worked up about that goal, then you're not worried about what you got to do in order to get there. You're just thinking about, oh, what if I mess up? Oh, I can't do this. But really what you need to do is get into a mentality of, yes, I can. I can do it. I can make it through today. It's going to be okay. If there's anything I can say is just any word of advice in this, just today. Just do it today. Make it happen today. You might fail tomorrow. Just make it through today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about today. When tomorrow gets here, you'll worry about tomorrow. Today, you worry about what's going on right now. And I believe in you. You're going to do it. Whatever the case is, I don't know what the situation is, but whatever it is, you're going to do it. You're going to get there. You're going to succeed. And you're going to look back on it and say, really glad I did it. Really glad I put in the work every day. Really glad I got there, because I wouldn't trade that journey for anything else. And you'll be happy with yourself as a human being, as a better person, and as somebody who didn't back down and in turn achieved their goals. And I think we've achieved our goal today here on the Mo Show. We have run out of time, and that's going to have to do it for today. If you did enjoy this, then go ahead and make sure you keep up to date with me. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, so that way you get notified. You're the first one to know whenever a new episode drops from the Mo Show. Whatever platform you're on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, whatever, make sure you follow me there to keep up to date with the newest episodes. And that's going to do it for me today. Thank you for tuning in. Take care of yourself until the next time. I'll see you in a little bit. I'm Michael O, and this is the Mo Show.